What up? What up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Moda J. This is the movie The Rip. I was gonna do a recap of it, but I decided to do it live because there's multiple things I want to talk about on this show. We're also going to cover the real story that is based off of. So I said I'll just do about an hour live. I did just finish. I literally just finished A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, probably about 30 minutes ago. Put this up so we can go live and do this. And I'll probably have a recap of that up tomorrow. Might do a live. Wasn't much in there. But this film I did like. Overall, I'm going to give it there was some scenes that I thoroughly enjoyed. So I'm going to give this movie an 8. I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to give this movie an 8. My favorite part was the shooting in the garage. And also trying to figure out who was good and who was bad. That's really what I enjoyed. Finding out who JD was with, who Dane was with, who was good, who was bad. So I give it an 8. I give it an 8. The whole dog situation and the lady in the kitchen, I ain't really like, all right, cool. Like she gets shot. Where's my dog at? But I didn't understand the going to get the cartel members and bringing them back, and then the DEA being crooked, but being, supportive and helping out. I kind of figured something was off with him because they wouldn't introduce a DEA agent for no reason. But overall, I give the movie about an 8, 7.5, an 8. The action was there. The running across the roofs. Yeah, it's a little far fetched, but hell, it's a thriller. It's action. That's what we need. We definitely need something like that. But we're gonna go over the true story. Man, I got a cough drop right now, man. I woke up. I wasn't feeling too good. My lower back is messing up, man. I don't know what the hell going on. But we'll go over the true story. We'll talk about the cast. We'll talk about the movie. And we'll just see where it goes from there. This is The Rip on Netflix. It just came out this weekend. Pretty solid. Pretty solid. Would I have taken any money? Yeah, I would have. Come on, that's a no brainer, guys. That's a no brainer. $20 million. What was the number? 20,650,480. You know what I mean? 20,650,480. It would have been somewhere around 20,100,500 something. Yeah, man, hell yeah, I would have took some money. And then they drove it off in the raggedy ass. See, that's why I wanted to do a live, because if I was going to do the recap, I wouldn't be able to talk about these points here. The car was shot all the way up. Who got the car to start? The engine block was gone. They shot up all the vehicles outside. How did they turn on that raggedy ass car and drive it out when the house was on fire? Did they forget that we seen the house on fire when they all was sitting outside? The whole house was caught on fire. Those are paint buckets from Home Depot. Them paint buckets gonna melt. Did they not see us see that? That's why I was like, wait a minute. But yeah, I would have took all kinds of money. We would have been driving the car. One of them buckets would have fell out. Yeah, one of them buckets would have fell out on the side of the bridge or something, and I would have came back and picked it up. Yeah, $450,000 in a barrel. Oh yeah, I'm taking 450,000. This is my God-given right. This is my God-given right. If I count the money, I get to keep the money. My money, and I want it now. I'm taking a bucket. I'm taking a bucket. Y'all taking a bucket. We all taking a bucket. Let's just be real. At least a bundle. Can I at least get 250? Can I at least get a bundle of 250 up under the shirt? Up under the shirt? You know what I'm saying? I got space up under the shirt. Y'all know I got space up under the shirt now. Y'all know. Look, I'm just gonna take a bundle and put it up under. Matter of fact, let me make some space for. Let me make a space. Give me a second. Give me a second. Let me make some space for 250,000. Hold on, let me clear out some space or something. What I got in here? We gonna get rid of that. We gonna keep the paperwork on us, but we gotta get rid of the paperwork because we need to make space for some money. So we're gonna get rid of the paperwork today. We're gonna get rid of the paperwork, and we're gonna put a brick in there. We're gonna just put $250,000. That ain't gonna hurt nobody. 250. Y'all keep telling me 250,000 ain't nothing. Y'all tell me right now $250,000 ain't no money to y'all. So 250 that I take ain't nothing. I'm taking 250. You can't be mad at me for taking 250. I did the job. I deserve a reward. But that's that. We do have the cast. We'll go over the cast and then we'll jump into the true story. So we had Lieutenant Dane, not to be confused with Lieutenant Dan. Desi, who was just in the house chilling. We got JD, whose brother was an FBI agent. We got Detective Numa, which is Tiana Taylor. I will say this. I know a lot of people ain't going to like what I say. I'm glad Tiana Taylor didn't have a lot of talking parts. I'm glad it was just, yeah, we're going to count this money. Yeah, it's a good job. Damn, those are bad guys. I'm glad it was just that. We didn't need any, like, we don't need all that dialogue, all right? We good with JD and Dane. That's all we need. We need them to, because we need to figure out who good and who bad. That's what we need to do. They on the job drinking. They drinking Coronas. They taking shots, and then they driving around the city. Then we had Mike Rowe, who turned out to be a bad guy. Jackie got popped in the first scene. Nick's dirty DEA agent. I don't even remember what Lolo's name was. I just remember them calling her Lolo. Lolo, she had the dog. That's pretty much it, really. Everybody else is just random people. Random people. But overall, it was good. Now, this was based off a true story. So I did read a little bit on it, but I didn't see how much money was actually in the true story compared to this. It may have been like $1 million, $2 million. But we're going to jump into the true story, and then we'll go back and do like a full review over it, and we'll just look at some of the images. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Can we see the true story on here? Nah, she all right at acting. She ain't ready for the big screen. She all right in acting. I wouldn't put it. I don't think she that good. She cool. Put on a TV show or something, but I don't think she's that good to be no lead or anything. All right, so we're gonna go over the true story, what actually happened. All right, the true story behind Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's The Rip. So this is a true story. It says, warning, spoilers ahead for The Rip. But if you're watching this, then you probably already seen it anyway. The home on 169th Terrace in Miami Lakes sat along a palm-lined street of spacious, well-kept houses, quiet and unremarkable, offering no hint of what it held until June 29th, 2016, when Miami-Dade police officer Chris Cassiano and the narcotics team executed a search warrant on the house. What was supposed to be the final phase of years-long drug trafficking investigation became much more when the team made a startling discovery. So let's go get the house, 169th Terrace in Miami Lakes. We got to know exactly where we at. We need locations. Was it a cul-de-sac? Was it like it was in the movie, or hey, someone get this dude out of here. Someone get someone get Socrates' nephew out of here. We're gonna call him Socrates. He ain't Socrates. We're gonna call him Socrates. Get Crates out of here. All right. So they said it's 169th and Terrace in Miami Lakes, set along a palm line street of spacious, well kept houses. So I'm assuming it's one of these houses here, but this is giving us an idea where we're at. Now there is a cul-de-sac here, but that's 168. They said 169. So it looks like it's somewhere on this street here. All right, became much more when the team made a startling discovery. What up, Trill? In the attic lay a garden rake with the cable running from its handle to the wall. When the officer lifted it, drywall gave way in a false wall move, revealing a hidden room stacked with 24 orange buckets purchased from Home Depot. I told you they were Home Depot buckets. Each one was packed with bundles of $100 bills, 24 million in all. The largest cash seizure in the history of Miami-Dade Police Department. Officers used sledgehammers to break through and pull them free. So in the film, it was just a wall with a cable hanging out of it, some wire hanging out of the wall in the film. But in real life, it was a rake with a wire on it, and you had to pull the rake. So that's two differences there. That okay. I mean, that's not too far off. It still pulls something and a false wall lifted up. All right, the night became the foundation for the Rip Netflix crime thriller, starring Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, blah blah blah, all them other people. Um, Inspired by his experience, the film is as concerned with how the raid unfolds as it is with what follows. How money tests the soul, strains loyalty, and traces the thin line between the duty and temptation when escape isn't an option. Here, officers are trapped by protocol, left to count the cash, knowing it made them targets, even as trust within the room begins to erode. So, of course, in the movie, we've seen them counting it. You have to count the money at the scene. All this is just accountability. You count the money there, so when you transfer it, they know if any money comes up missing. You know what I mean? So you get the official count there, then you bring it back and you count it again. And if there's money missing, then you got an investigation. So all this is really just a chain of command. It's just making sure that the money is the same from the time it's collected to the time that it's entered into the evidence. The devil in the details in this film, the writer said, is really about human beings. It's about connection between people, what your team means to you, what your friends mean to you, and what people love mean to you. The real raid. Years of investigative work, led to the raid that later inspired the RIP. The accumulation of long-running probe into a marijuana trafficking operation that stretched from South Florida to Tennessee, built through surveillance, confidential sources, wiretaps, and coordinated law enforcement work across state lines. The Miami Lakes home, Casiano and his team raided in June of 2016 belonged to Luis Hernandez Gonzalez, the longtime owner of Blossom Experience, a North Miami garden supply store frequented by marijuana growers across the country. So let's go see what the Experience is. Oh yeah, we doing our own investigative work. The Blossom Experience. All right, they got a Facebook page. All right. Oh, this place is still open? Oh no, the last thing was on July 2015, so a year before the actual raid. The Blossom Experience is a hydroponic garden supply located in Miami. We sell all type of equipment, fertilizers, and garden accessories. We look forward to seeing you. So this was actually posted literally 1 year. July 16, 2015 was literally 1 year before the, well, yeah. 1 year before the June 29th, 2016 raid. All right. Let's see if Luis Hernandez Gonzalez got into anything. Y'all see this? Y'all, y'all see what we talking about? Look what it says here. The $22 million drug bust. Over here, we found out that it's a $24 million drug bust. Where that 2 million go? Where that see what I'm saying? If some money comes up missing, everybody ain't gonna report the same story. Some people say it was 22 million, some people say it was 24. So that's 2 million that might be missing. Somebody might have some sticky fingers. But let's continue on. All right. Detectives regularly followed customers after they left the shop. In 2005, DEA agents said Hernandez Gonzalez discussed marijuana sales while under surveillance. Though no charges followed, 5 years later, a confidential source secretly recorded him discussing cultivation techniques and offering to purchase a future crop. Again, no arrest came. So that's 2005, 2010. The pattern changed in 2016 after Hernandez Gonzalez was captured on a wiretap giving growing advice to South Florida marijuana traffickers, arrested by federal agents in Tennessee. So he was on a wiretap talking to people in South Florida, but they were arrested in Tennessee. So they were probably running from Florida up to Tennessee because that's where they said how far it was going. So they probably went up to Tennessee. They were on wiretap. They probably caught him at whatever house, wherever they were doing their grow at. Investigators moved in stages. First raided his business, then executing a search warrant at his Miami Lakes home. So he had it in his actual house. Outside the house, a narcotics team, crash sniffing dog, began alerting an unmistakable signal. Marked by the dog's urination, it meant large sum of currencies were nearby. Officers understood their instincts were correct. In the attic, hidden behind a drywall in a space accessible only through a concealed opening, the uncovering of a 24 5-gallon bucket packed tightly with $100 bills. Alongside them were marijuana strands labeled Chernobyl, Super Skunk, 4 types of anabolic steroids, and a loaded Tech 9 pistol. Department protocol in these scenarios was precise. Miami-Dade officers must count seized cash on site by hand twice before anyone could leave, a safeguard designed to protect procedural integrity. In practice, it locked Casiano, and his team inside a home for hours, visible and stationary in a residential neighborhood, surrounded by a sum large enough to attract attention from anyone with reason to come looking. Home surveillance cameras captured their movements as they worked. Casiano's first instinct was simple. Someone could be watching, worse, someone might be coming for the money. By the time the counting ended, more than a day later, the total reached $24 million, dollars, a record setting Caesar for the department at the time. No one took a dollar. So in real life, it took one whole day. Real life, it took one whole day to count $24 million because you got to count it by hand. You can't use the machines until you get back to verify. So it took one whole day and no one took a dollar. Hernandez Gonzalez was initially charged in state court with marijuana trafficking and money laundering before being indicted federally after investigators uncovered a pattern of structured bank deposits designed to evade detection. In 2018, he was sentenced to 65 months. So a little over what? A little over 6 years, 5 years. Sentenced to 65 months in prison for financial crimes tied to the operation. The experience stayed with Cassiano long after that night and would later lodge himself into the imaginary, well, it's an imagination. Who first heard about the story while working with Cassiano in 2020 on the buddy cop film Bad Boys for Life. So, while they were on set for Bad Boy for Life, he was telling this story. So, what he probably was he was probably like a police officer liaison. If you're gonna do a rip, if you're gonna do a drug bust, you'll go there. So it's the same with like military members, doctors. They have them on the scene and they give you like their professional advice of what they would do in that situation. So this movie came about when Bad Boy for Life was getting recorded. He told the story and they were like, "Oh well, shit, let's make a story out of that." And that's where the movie The Rip came from. They eventually left the project, but the friendship endured and did the story. Um, The amount of money just does dark things to the soul. Now, I don't know if it says in 2021, Cassiano's young son Jake died after being diagnosed with cancer. That's what goes on in the movie with Lieutenant Dan. The relationship of the story changed and reworked the script. Damon's character, Lieutenant Dane, now carried the weight of a son who had passed away. The crime thriller became more intimate, a story marked by grief. Uh, they didn't want to feel pressured into allowing the story to be told this way. He had shut it down. He would abide by the request, he says, but Cassiano ultimately moved by how his son's story was handled, initially reluctant to read the screenplay because of how personal materials were. Once he did, the rip was dedicated to Jake, and in his name, the first from Black during the closing credits. So, long story short, none of that shit happened. What we watched in the movie, the only thing that happened in the movie was they counted some money. There wasn't no shootouts. There wasn't no running to go get cartel members. There wasn't no Morse code on the end of the block. There wasn't no owning all of the houses. There was no detective getting killed by the drug dealers or crooked cops. There was no DEA involved. There wasn't a dirty cop with Mike Rowe. So the only thing that was real was the money. You know, that's kind of that's kind of that's kind of disturbing there. You know, I thought there was a little bit of action. So in the real story, there wasn't no action. The only action was they stayed in this house for a day and counted money. That's it. That's the only thing that happened. That's the only thing that happened. I give them credit because they did work the story. They did work the story, but I thought there was some truth behind the things that were going on. Maybe somebody tried to come back and get the house. They had to chase somebody or something. I knew the end was fake. Like the DEA in the back of the truck and they were getting the shootout. I knew that was fake. I was like, there's no way that this happened and I didn't hear anything about it. But Uh, the Rip, it builds a cinematic pressure cooker where morals are tested and loyalty bends under sustained heat. The tension comes less from action or pursuit than for hours spent waiting, counting, and watching. Money sitting in plain sight between people who understand exactly how easy it would be to leave with it. And what would it cost them to stay? The film was a way to honor more than remarkable night on the job. It becomes a tribute to a friend who endured what no parent should have faced, an effort to take an unbearable and carry it onto a story that might last. In the end, the money matters less than who become while standing next to it, who you become standing next to it. All right, so there's a true story. $24 million, one day to count, nothing else happened. There wasn't any excitement. There wasn't any chasing no one down. There wasn't none of that. The true story, just $24 million in an attic with a rake, with a wire, and a false wall. $24 million, and I think it said 20 buckets. That's it. That's all that went on. And this was June 29th, 2016. Let me see. Let me see.
A man who hid $22 million of suspected marijuana trafficking funds inside his home in buckets will not be losing all of his money to the feds after taking a plea deal. Luis Gonzalez will keep $4 million, his home, his hydroponics garden supply store, and 5 Rolex watches. Today, the 46-year-old pleaded guilty to money laundering and structuring bank deposits to avoid the federal government's reporting requirement. His attorney confirmed to NBC6 the marijuana trafficking charge and other counts were dropped as part of the plea deal. Gonzalez's sentencing is scheduled for April 20th, which is coincidentally a celebratory day in cannabis culture. He faces up to 30 years in prison.
That ain't bad. He took a plea deal. 65 months was probably be home in like 4.5 years, 5 years. He took a plea deal. He got to keep $4 million. He got to keep his house. So the house didn't catch on fire. And he got 4 Rolexes. I'm pretty sure with all the money he had, the house was paid off. He got to keep his business. So that's really a win-win. You lose 20 million, but you get to keep 4 million and your house and the Rolexes and the business. Now you can just go legit. That'll just be your story. You can have that on the wall. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll shop there. All right, here we go. Northwest, 169th Terrace and 77th Path. And 77th Path. So he lived. Damn, where's 77th Path? So he lived on this street here. 169th and 77th Path. So he lived in one of these houses. These are some nice size houses, though. I wish we could get that. I mean, if we look up his case, we could probably look up what's his actual address. That's kind of what I want to do real quick before we actually go into. And look, this one says over $21 million was seized. But look at this. The DOJ says the DOJ says Miami-Dade County resident sentenced 65 months in prison for structuring and money laundering must forfeit over $18 million in seized cash and money. So that means the 4 million he got to keep, then he has to turn over 18 million. So that means it was only 22 million. But where'd the other 2 million come from? Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I could do 65 months. I could do 65 months for $4 million. I'm gonna be real with you. 65 months. 65 months is what? Like I say, it's like 5, not 6 years. 5.5 years. So basically, imagine you were the pandemic. You sat at home for 4 years. Well, it was a little like three, but it's Fed time. You got to do 80%. So it's like 5.5 years. You'll be home in like four eighths of a year. Like that's just a pandemic. Imagine going through the whole pandemic and then getting $4 million at the end of it. Yeah. So if the bus was only 22 million and I got to keep four, I think 5 years is worth $4 million. I'm gonna be real with you. If I can get $4 million off of 5 years of prison, I might take that deal. I go to jail now and I get out in 2030, but I get $4 million in 2030. I would take that deal. I would take that deal. I'm trying to find the address so we can see which house it actually is, and we can look and see how it was structured. Uh, Pled guilty one count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. I'm trying to find the address. All right, we probably ain't gonna find the address, but oh, here we go, right here, 9 years ago.
The Miami-Dade Police Department made its largest money seizure ever on Wednesday when it discovered $24 million in suspected drug trafficking money in a Miami home. Authorities say Luis Hernandez Gonzalez was involved in trafficking marijuana to Tennessee along with two other men. His sister, Salma Hernandez, was also arrested. Police found 5-gallon buckets filled with cash inside the walls of the home. They also discovered a high-powered automatic weapon and steroids. Gonzalez runs the Blossoms Experience store in Miami-Dade, which police say he was using to sell equipment to grow marijuana and give advice on how to care for the plants. Drugs and $180,000 in cash was also seized from the business. Police say they had Gonzalez under surveillance since 20.
Hold on, we might be able to see what this house looked like. So it's the 10 house, 2-car garage. Then it's a brownish house next to it. All right, we're gonna look at that.
They had Gonzalez under surveillance since 2010. He faces several drug trafficking related charges along with money laundering, weapon possession, and cannabis possession. He's being
2 windows, 2 garages on the side, walk through in the middle.
possession. He's being held on a $4 million bond, and his sister is held on a $12,500 bond. For Newsy, I'm Jay Struberg.
77th and Path. Man, they won't let us go down these streets. They don't want us to see what houses are over here. That's really how they gonna treat us? This is 78. Oh, they won't even let us go down the street, man. They don't want us to see who's living down there. All right. Now we'll get into the actual film and we'll talk about the actual movie. But that's a true story. None of that action actually happened. That was all fictional. That was all for us. That was all for TV. All right. All right. That's the thing. We don't know what the actual address is. I was just gonna go down the street and just look at the houses and and see how much money people were really getting over there. But Luis still got the house, so he might still live over there. I think his time is up. 16 is when he got arrested. 18 is when he was sentenced. Probably time served for 2 years. So he probably got out about 2020, 2021. Maybe. No. So the girl cop, there wasn't no girl cop in real life. That was all fictional. The DEA agent, that was fictional. Mike Rowe being crooked, that was fictional. None of that happened. Um, the only thing that happened was there was surveillance on him from 2000, 2005, 2010, 2016 is when the arrest happened. But yeah, none of that happened. There was just drugs being moved, marijuana being moved from Florida to Tennessee. He was running a garden company and he was selling stuff. He was on a wiretap showing them how to grow different weed, different things of that nature. They made a bust in Tennessee. And once they did that, then they went down to Florida to his house and did the rest. So everything we seen in the film was a lie. The only thing that was real in the film was them counting the money. But it wasn't in one night. It actually took one whole day to count the whole $24 million. They didn't escort it out in a beat up car or anything. They literally just sat in the house. No one attacked them. Peaceful. The only thing they had to worry about is each other stealing the money. So they flipped the whole true story. They just said it was based on it. The only thing that was based on it was there was drugs in the attic. That's it. That's the only true story. Everything else was a lie. They lied to us. So for almost 2 hours, they lied to us. Oh man, he ain't about to do an interview with me. I'm asking a real question. Where else is there some money hidden? You said there was 24 in your house. Where was the other 40? Where was the other 50? And is there any way I can go and see this money to verify that you ain't bullshitting us? Because they just lied to us about the film. You know what I'm saying? Is there any way for us to verify that? But so in the film, this would be the actual review here. We'll actually do the review here. Oh boy. All right. So as far as the movie goes, it did start off kind of slow. All right. As far as the movie goes, it did start off kind of slow. The first time I tried to watch this was Friday night after I got off my live. I watched about 6 to 7 minutes of it, and then I just went to sleep. I was like, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't care to stay up and figure out what was going on. I just know that we had a woman get popped in the very opening scene. So I'm like, all right, cool. We got a little bit of action. Now, this detective here, she's shooting at two assailants, two masked up with shotguns. And we see her on the phone at the same time texting. They coming in and they got guns blazing. Pow, pow, pow. She busting back. So I'm like, all right, bet. Now she's texting somebody and letting them know her phone. Now, she did make a phone call in the car, like no one's gonna be tracing this, no one's gonna be tracking this, blah, blah, blah. This is a burner phone. But she's trying to get a message off because she knows whoever this is, they're coming to kill her. They end up walking her down. They pop her, but she throws the burner phone off into the water. Then it goes into a whole investigation. So everybody that's been working in this TNT, the tactical narcotics team, not to be confused with the TNTT, because the T already signifies the team. So it's TNT, not TNTT. But they're asking everybody, hey, how did you feel about Detective? I think her name was Jody. How did you feel about her? What about some money? Was there any kind of corruption? Everybody like, nah, we a tight knit team. We all depend on each other. This is Mike Rowe. He's talking about he ain't had nothing to do with it.
Those thoughts never cross your mind.
Then we got JD. JD's an officer. His boy is Lieutenant Dane, who got the promotion over him. You know, he was fucking off, but that's his boy. His brother's an FBI agent who is actually asking him about this money that may be missing, about a potential, well, not the money that's missing, because there's no money missing at this point, but they're talking about rips that may have been in progress and this officer getting killed. Who was taking any money? Did you know anything? So everybody's saying, nah, they didn't know anything like that. We see JD end up fighting his brother. Now, this is his little brother. His little brother calls him a bully. But Lieutenant Dane, I keep calling him Dan. Lieutenant Dane, he wants to go out and do an investigation on who killed his homegirl, she was above him. But they're like, I don't know about that.
I'm convinced.
JD and Dane, they real cool with each other. Again, Dane, he got the promotion. JD, he's just working, man. You can tell he's really frustrated. But they're going back and forth like, we didn't tell him nothing. We don't know nothing, but we want to go do our own investigation amongst them. So I'm like, all right, cool. We got these two together. Now, are they going to be partners? How it's looking is like they fuck with each other. But as we progress into this show, they aren't messing with each other. It's kind of like one's on the different side, one's not trusting the other. And I'm like, oh, man, here we go. I never thought these two would be going against each other, but it would definitely be cool to finally see them do that. What up, Real Leafa? Oh, yeah, we just exposed that the true story was just counting money. I mean, I like what they did, but...
Bullshit's cartel houses.
So now we got the whole crew together. We got Lolo, Numa, Mike, and JD. Now, Dane is still on the inside. They're all sitting out here. They drinking on the job. They doing donuts in the parking lot. This is what you do in Miami-Dade. So they sitting around talking about the cartel houses getting knocked over, cops stealing money. Of course, they're the tactical narcotic unit, so they're supposed to go out and make sure that any of this going down, they're the ones the first in the house. They're seizing the drugs. They're getting whatever money it is and, you know, counting it up and bringing it back. But allegedly there's some dirty stuff going on, and that's why the detective got shot in the opening scene. They sitting around. The DEA pulls up. They got their big ass truck. They chilling. They talking cash money. But no one's really doing anything. The only thing is Dane gets a text message. Well, he gets a phone call back in the office, and it's supposed to be from the tips line. Now, he says from the anonymous tip that there's $150,000. That's what he got from the tip. $150,000, a little seizure in the house that they can go and get. Now, before they leave, everyone is asking him how much money. He's telling some people 300,000, some people 200,000, some people 75,000, some people 150,000. Now, at this point, we're looking at it as maybe Dane is crooked, because when Dane is telling us all these different prices, 150,000, 300,000, it's kind of making you look at him as if, all right, when we get there, let's say it's $500,000, he's gonna put 200 off to the side, tell someone else it's 300. So when they count it, you know what I mean? Everyone's gonna get different numbers, because it's the way it's setting it up is like, damn, okay, Dane is about to be crooked as hell. That was my first thought. I was like, damn, all right, so he's crooked. He's not telling anyone the same amount of money. The currency is about to be off. So I'm like, all right, we must be going into this house, or we must be the ones that did the shooting of the detective. So I did like that right there. It was throwing us off, but we'll figure out why he was doing that a little bit later on.
I'm going regardless.
Boy, Wilberg. Good boy.
All right, what do we do?
So Fast and Furious pulls up. We got a couple of whips. We got a truck. We got a bike. They pull up to the house. They don't have a search warrant, but what they do have is an anonymous tip. And with that anonymous tip, there is a little bit of suspicion. But if the lady allows them to come in and just look for quote unquote drugs, not the actual money, if they find the money, good. That means they didn't need a warrant. Usually they'll let you in. If they know they don't have any drugs and they're here looking for drugs, then they'll let you in, but not knowing that the dog is going to hit on money. So that was their plan. Tell her we're looking for drugs. Since there's no drugs in the house, if we find the money, then we find the money. But that was part of, you know what I mean? So then we got a girl at the door by the name of Desi. Desi, she just sitting here. This is allegedly her grandmother's house. Her grandmother's very, very sick. She's sitting outside like, hey, what y'all got going on? They're like, hey, we need to come in. We got an anonymous tip on some drugs. She's like, well, there ain't no drugs in here. Who are y'all with? They're like, oh, yeah, we with the tactical narcotic unit. We looking for some drugs. She's like, yeah, there ain't no drugs in here. But she eventually signs the paperwork and lets them come in. Now, me personally, Never. I don't care if they looking for drugs and I ain't got no drugs. Y'all not coming in my house. So never sign off on none of this. Never give them consent to search your house. If they get a warrant, okay, cool. But until then, don't ever let them in your house. Don't even open the door for them. If they need to talk to you, they can talk to you through the door. I don't need to open up the door to talk to you. Or I'll open up the window on the side and I'll talk to you through the screen. Or I'll talk to you through the window on the top floor. But never open up your door and let the police in here. Who gives a damn what they looking for? Ain't nothing here. You know what I mean? They might plot and plant something on you. So she ends up letting them in. But the dog we seen peeing out front
name?
is hitting on a lot of money. They come into the house. They end up finding the attic. Now, she says she never been up there. This house is junky as hell. Now, in real life, what we found out was this guy actually had a lot of money. He had a legitimate business. And I'm going to say it's legitimate because he was selling gardening products. What they did with the gardening products is what they did, you know? If you come to me and you buy some baking soda from me, don't mean I'm selling you stuff to go make crack. That's you making crack on your own. I just sold you the product. I don't know what you're doing at home, even though he was on a wiretap and talking to people and telling them how to make new strands and how to cultivate all the kinds of different things. But this house is very, very junky. They end up going up into the attic, and this is where they find out that the attic is pristine condition, very, very clean.
There.
I get the sledge.
Now, yeah, they got dogs that can sniff out money. They got dogs that can sniff out bed bugs, drugs, jet fuel. Dogs that can sniff out cadaver dogs that can sniff out bodies, blood. They got dogs that can sniff out cancer in patients. Man, dogs can sniff out almost anything, to be honest with you. Dogs can sniff out anything. All you gotta do is just train them. They got dogs that do that. They got mice that can do that. They got ferrets that be doing that. They got all kinds of animals that they use to smell stuff. But here in the film, we see them going to an outlet, and there's a cord in the outlet. But in real life, there wasn't an outlet. There's actually a rake with a wire on it. You had to pull the rake, and then the false wall will move. Now, I don't know. I guess you didn't expect no one to go up in the attic, but this is kind of obvious. Like, hey, there's a wire sticking out. What's this wire doing? Hey, there's a random rake in the attic. What's this rake doing? You know what I mean? But I guess if you don't plan on anyone going up there, but you could have did something more innovative than that. Yeah, the dog was barking all goddamn episode. He just rrr, 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 rrr. I'm like, all right, man, leave that motherfucker in the car. So boom, they find the wall, false wall.
What is that?
This is when they find out that there's barrels in here. Now they don't know what's in these buckets. So Dane and JD, they go back downstairs to question Desi while Mike and them are all upstairs. And right now, she's saying her story is her grandmother lives here. The house is in probate. So anything you guys find in this house, it doesn't belong to her. It's her grandmother's. So that's one way they can get around it. Now, they're asking her who gave her this story, who gave her this loophole. It's not really a loophole. It's just the fact of the matter is this ain't my house. So anything that you find in this house doesn't come back to me. It goes back to the owner of the house, which is the grandmother who's very sick. Now, she doesn't say who actually did it, but they already been hinting at maybe it's the cartel that's doing this. So while they're down here talking to her, she's not giving up too much information, but they're allowing her to play with the dog. Like the dog is running around and she's like petting the dog and stuff. Like what? I didn't understand that. But they go upstairs. They end up finding the money. Micro and them knock it down. He sees how much money is up there and he's telling everyone to leave. So at this point, we're wondering, are we the good guys? Are we the good guys is what we're trying to figure out. Are we the good guys? Hell no. Hell no. AWTGG for me, always wanted to get grimy. Always wanted to get greedy. Always wanted to get green. That's what AWTGG means to me. Always wanted to get green. That's what AWTGG means to me. Always wanted to get green. You know what I mean? Get G's. That's what it mean to me. I always wanted to get the gutter. You know what I'm saying? Get the gooey. Get the money. But anyway, they find the money. They go upstairs. And at this point, he kicks everybody out. He tells everyone to give me your phone because he don't know who he can trust, who he can't trust. They open it up. It's $150,000, $250,000, about $400,000 in each one of these buckets. So he takes everybody's phone and he tells them, we got to count all this money. We know the protocol. So let's get all this money down and put it down in the garage. But now, right now, everyone is nervous. Like, whoa, what the hell is going on? Everyone's nervous about what's going on. But no one ever calls the major, which is protocol. Got to call the major. Hey, major, we got a big ass drug seizure here. We need you to pull up and verify everything that we got going on. Well, no one ever called major, but they all got the phones. JD got to keep his phone. Now, out of nowhere, Lolo talking about, I got to call my girls. I gotta call my girls. Do you know there's a couple M's in these buckets? There's a couple $1 million in these buckets. What do you mean you got to call your girls? You on the job. If you was in the middle of a police chase, would you pull over in the middle of a police chase and call your kids? No, you on the job. You signed up for a job. You do your damn job and shut that damn dog up over there. You ain't calling them kids. Fuck them kids. You gonna go in that garage and you gonna count that motherfucking money is what you gonna do. You want to say something to your kids and quit. Turn your badge over. Give me your gun. Go on home. But you're not gonna call them here. You're not gonna call them here. All this money in here, for all I know, you might be the one setting us up, Lolo. Who you think you gonna call, Lolo? It ain't the Ghostbusters. The show the hell ain't your kids. Who you calling, the cartel? You can't call nobody, Lolo. We own the motherfucking job. Call your kids. If your kids that important, why you take this job? Go get a job at Denny's or something. This here is the Tactical Narcotic Unit. TNT. We work from sun up to sundown. Ain't no calling the kids. My kid died of cancer. You see me over here crying, talking about I need to go to the damn gravesite to talk to my son? No, you can't call your kids. Fuck them kids and shut that dog up and go count that money like I told you to. Take the money to the goddamn garage and count the money. That's your job. I'm the lieutenant on this scene. This is my crime scene. No, you can't call them kids. Matter of fact, fuck that child support too. Matter of fact, I'm going to go to the courthouse and tell the judge to take the kids. I'm going to tell the judge to start garnishing your wages because you obviously don't know how to do what you were told to do. Don't you ever break rank and tell me what you need to do. I tell you what to do. I'm the lieutenant on this crime scene. Last time I checked, there ain't but one lieutenant around here, Lolo. And it ain't you. It sure the hell ain't JD. Numa ain't no motherfucking lieutenant. Mike Roaz sure the fuck ain't no lieutenant in here. Looking down to my bed, my shit say big LT on that motherfucker. Your shit say under LT. That means you need to shut the fuck up and go count that money. Go get in that garage and count that money. The fuck you talking about calling your... You must think this is a playground. I should write you up for insubordination. You know when we get back, I'm reprimanding you for this. This is going on paperwork. This is no longer a verbal. This right here needs to be documented. Talking back to a superior officer. Yeah, that's what we got to write you up for this one. Insubordination to the highest degree. No, you can't call your kids. Count the fucking money, Lolo. Get in the garage and count the money. The fuck you talking about calling your kids? Fuck them. They'll go to sleep. You think they need you to go to sleep? They'll go to sleep. When they get tired, they'll go to sleep. Go count that money. Coming in here talking about I got to call my kids, tell them good night. You on child support for a reason. You're a horrible mother. Yeah, I did some reading on your file. I know about you, Lolo. You been behind on child support. Yeah, we know about it. The kids were at your house. They wasn't eating some nights. We know about you, Lolo. The kids were going to school, stomach rumbling because you wasn't giving them breakfast. Yeah, I know about everything on your case, Lolo. Now, I put my neck on the line to bring you on to TNT. I didn't think you were capable of it. But you got that good-ass dog over there. What's his name? Yusuf? Yorkie with the dog name? What the damn dog name, Lolo? I brought you in here for a reason. But now you telling me you need to call your kids? I told you when I was leaving, I'm going out here. If y'all didn't want to come, don't come. Why the fuck did you come if you felt like you had to call your kids? You thought this was going to be open and shut case. That's what you thought, didn't you, Lolo? You thought our job was easy. You thought we were parking meter. You thought we were the parking meter niggas that walk around and get niggas parking tickets. And we only work 9 to 5. Now, this is the motherfucking TNT, Tactical Narcotics Team. You hear that? Tactical Narcotics Team. That means all of us together collectively. Not one person gets to make a phone call to their kids. If I'm let you make a phone call to the kids, then I gotta let Mike Rowe call his little chick on the side. I gotta let Newman call that nigga Mo up. I gotta let everybody make a phone call. But I don't want nobody to make no phone call because I don't know who we can trust. There's a lot of corruption going on right now, Lolo. And all of a sudden, you just gotta call your kids. We ain't heard you call your kids all year. And now you want to call your kids just mysteriously when we come up on a couple M's, you want to call your kids, huh? You want to give away our location. That's what you want to do. Who you calling, Lolo? Huh? Who you calling? Who you calling? Put her in handcuffs. Sit her next to Desi. Handcuff them both to the chair over there. Handcuff them both to the chair. We can't trust Lolo. Lolo has been compromised. Lolo has been compromised, people. Lolo wants to make a phone call. Lolo doesn't want to count the money. Lolo wants to make a phone call to her kids. Just you wait till we find the money to make a call to your kids. When we were sitting around and we went up in the attic, you ain't want to call your kids then. Now you want to call your kids, Lolo, once the money is found? Something don't sound right, Lolo. Something don't sound right. Pat her down. Is she wearing a wire? What she got on her? Who you work with, Lolo? What cartel? Sinaloa? Huh? Marquez cartel? The Strata cartel? Who you work with? Yeah, this is the Tactical Narcotics Team. When she said she had to call her kids, I was like, oh, she must be crooked. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, what she need to call her kids so bad for? Fuck them kids. We just found 20, well, we don't know it's 20-something million dollars. We got a rough estimate, it's like 18, 20 million just off of one bucket, but they didn't go through all the buckets yet. They did find a gun up there also. But the reason I say all of that is because at this point, when he took the phones and then she asked for her phone back, I was like, wait a minute. What is she asking for this phone for? Now, they did say when we were talking about the true story, how nerve-wracking it was with all of them sitting around with this amount of money. So for me, I'm looking at that as he took all the phones. I already think that Dane is crooked because he took all the phones and told everyone a different amount of money. And then when we found out it's way more money than what he was even talking about, he takes the phone. So I'm thinking, all right, he's crooked. But then when she asked for her phone to call her kids, I'm thinking she crooked. So now I'm like, I don't know who to trust in this motherfucker. Because I'm already knowing that one of those buckets is already missing. I'm knowing when all the money is getting transferred from upstairs, the bucket to the garage. I'm already knowing one bucket is missing. One bucket is already missing. One bucket didn't make it to the garage. One bucket made it to the back of my motherfucking Charger. I'm just saying one bucket. It accidentally made it to the back of my Charger. I don't know. I just know it was 19 buckets. All I counted was 19 buckets when we was upstairs. That's all I seen was 19 buckets. 20. Who got 20? Fuck that. Who is Lolo calling? So anyway, Lolo asked for her phone back, and she said she wanted to call her kids, but he don't give the phone to her. Now remember, JD still has his phone, so there's only 2 people with phones that we know about right now, and it's JD and Dane.
Say goodnight to them.
Now in the middle of the night, we get some police officers, the Miami-Dade, showing up. They go outside and they confront them. They go outside and confront him, Dane and JD, and they talking to him. And both of the cops are like, well, we didn't get any heads up for this. And they talking about, well, I'm lieutenant. You know, this is my dog over here. And we got this. We couldn't really tell y'all basically because, you know, there's a lot of corruption going on in the city. And we don't know who Miami-Dade is working with. Now, JD does recognize one of the cops. And he's like, okay, you're one of those guys that were with the, the VAC? The VAC units, which was like stealing money that would like actually caught stealing money and things of that nature. So they end up driving off and they speed off. So they're like, okay, maybe they got something to do with this. Maybe the block is hot because of these two. Maybe they were watching this house. You know, sometimes a cartel does have police officers on the payroll. So at this point, everything is, the VCAT. Everything is all up in the air because we don't know who we can trust. We don't know if the police are in on this. We don't know if anyone in the house is in on it. We don't know if Lieutenant is on it. We don't know if JD's on it. Now, JD kind of shows us like he's doing some pushback. Like, hey, what are we doing? We're going to call the major. We're going to do this. He's trying to follow things by protocol. Dane is the one that we're really the most iffy about at this point. But they tell the police to leave. The police end up getting the hell up out of here. So now what they doing is suiting up. They tell everybody to put on the armor because we don't know if we're going to get hit. Because right now they sitting ducks. They sitting in this house. And if the police are in on it, then they're going to notify cartel members. They're going to notify whoever they need to. So they're putting on all their vests and everything. Everyone's kicking it. They're having little flashbacks about the first detective that got popped. Now they're bringing the money down. Remember, they say it's about 20 buckets. Only 19 buckets would have made it down to the garage. They got Desi over here locked up. She's playing with the dog. This would never happen in real life. That dog wouldn't be around her. So now they've got all the money in here. And while they're sitting around talking, Mike in here, he's sweating. Numa in here, she's sweating. Lolo in here, she's sweating. Then she looks at this Volkswagen. And this right here, I knew something was gonna happen with this Volkswagen because they wouldn't have brought it up for no reason. Now, she says this is something she grew up with, a car just like this. So they all sitting there, but they need to start counting the money. Mike's talking about contacting command, but they end up moving the car in front of the garage. So if anyone comes and starts to shoot at them, they'll at least have a little bit of protection. They send Mike's ass outside. Mike, you go do patrols outside. So Mike is outside. And what they're going to do with the money, any money that's wrapped up that says 250,000, 150,000, just assume that's how much money is in there because it's wrapped up and it's already counted. And they'll only count the loose money. You know, that way they don't have to be here all day. But realistically, I mean, you'd have to photograph all of this. And then when you get back, you'd probably bust it all open. I don't know what the protocol is when it's wrapped up like this. But like he said, they're just going to take it for what it's worth. If it says 250 on it, it's 250,000. So just keep it like that. Now, it turns out when Mike goes outside, Mike actually has a phone. He's texting somebody named Chief. Jackpot, money, not calling command, might be dirty. Now, at this point, we don't know who he's texting. But it seems like Mike is the good guy. It seems like Mike is alerting somebody back in command that, hey, we might have a dirty cop. So again, I'm still confused of who is who at this point. I'm like, all right, so Mike is good. Mike had a burner phone and he's texting somebody talking about they're not calling command. They might be dirty, as if he's got to stop these two. So they get in here and they talking to Desi about the money, if she knows anything. Desi don't really know much, just that they said some wild shit's gonna happen. There is a phone call that comes in talking about y'all got about 30 minutes before niggas start dying. They start pulling up Desi. Desi's a snitch. Well, they don't get the phone call yet, but Desi's a snitch. There's a snitch jacket on Desi. Desi been running around telling on niggas since 1988. Well, she was born like 95, so Desi been snitching since 2003. Desi's a big snitch, so everybody knows that Desi's a snitch, but, you know, fuck it, she's family. Rapid ID, police department records. It's blacked out. It's got the red on there, signifying that she was a snitch. You a snitch, kid, Miami-Dade? So this is when they do get the phone call. We got 30 minutes to leave the house. And what did they say? Hey, real. They said you got the what did he say? You got the red file on yours? So I guess if it's a red file on there, meaning a nigga a snitch. So Desi been snitching. But what we find out is on the phone, excuse me, it says you got 30 minutes to leave the house. $150,000 isn't worth dying over. So the number is confirmed. The 150,000, not 300,000, not 250, not 75,000, but the 150,000. The only person that knows about 150,000 is Mike Rowe. Numa got 75,000 is what Dane told her. He told JD it was 300,000 and he told Lolo that it was 250. But he told Mike Rowe that it was 150,000, and that's what they said on the phone. Meaning, whoever the cartel is working with the police because that anonymous tip was $150,000. Come and get the 150,000, seize that, but leave the rest of the money up in the attic. So would it be 23 million? What did they say? 150,000, 23 million, 850. So y'all leave that, take 150,000. That's still a nice little seizure. You can take that, go back in, and leave the house alone. That way, no one else would come and look at the house. They already raided it. This is what they found. So they got 30 minutes before they getting shot up.
Get out of the house.
JD and Dane, they get to arguing because JD's like, what the hell are we going to do? This ain't protocol. How are we going to do this? Why aren't we calling anybody? And Dane keeps saying, oh, I did make a phone call. So JD is doing it by the book. And if you remember the dynamic between the two, Dane was the one that actually got the promotion. And they were asking, his brother was asking JD, how do you feel about him getting the promotion? He was like, he deserved it. He worked his ass off for it. So it's like, he's not jealous or anything. It did seem like that in the beginning, but he's really just doing his job. And it has us questioning, who is who? Like, is JD the good one and Dane is the bad guy? This is how it went throughout the whole damn show. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Who is good and who is evil?
Twice that, man.
But then he tells him, you told me it was $300,000. It was only $150 an anonymous tip. So they start counting out the money. And of course, we hear Lolo talking about, man, you know, what just one of these bricks would do, with just this amount of money, it would change my life. And Numa's over there talking about, yeah, well, let's just count the money. So Numa's like, fuck it, I'm trying to count this money and get home. Numa ain't really tripping off the money. Yeah, the money sound good, the money look good, the money feel good. Ain't nothing better than some crisp $100 bills in your hand to make you feel like a motherfucking new person. But Numa's cool. She chilling. She counting that money up. She sweating her ass off. She got the vest on. She ready for whatever. She ain't with Mufasa no more. She might as well holler at me. But she counting up that money. And Lolo keep talking about, man, this money to change my life. Hey, Lolo, if you don't get your filthy hands off that cash. She said, I take home $80,000 a year after taxes. If you can't live off of $80,000 after taxes, that's something wrong with you. That's something wrong with you. If you can't live off of $80,000 after taxes, that's on you. $80,000 after taxes, you living good. You don't got custody of your kids. You only paying child support, so you might be paying $1,200, $1,500 a month. That ain't nothing. If you can't live off of $80,000 after taxes, that's something wrong with you. You need to reevaluate your life. That brand new car that you driving out there, you should probably sell that and get like a Toyota or a Honda, something that's good on gas. If you can't afford to live off of $80,000, you need to stop doing these elaborate birthday parties for your kids. They don't need that. You go get their ass a cake from Walmart, some generic ass candles from the goddamn arts and craft aisle, and a gift from somewhere. Give them a damn gift card or something. You don't need to be throwing no big ass birthday parties. You don't need the bouncy balloon thing in the backyard. You put some food on the grill, invite these niggas over from work, have them grill, and have a cake, and that's it. Y'all sit around, drink some beers, let the kids run around in the backyard or go to the park or some shit like that. That's all you need to do. But if you can't live on $80,000 a year after taxes, that is something wrong with you. And you and only you. $80,000 after taxes, divide that by 12, divide that by 2, you getting $3,300 a check. She said after taxes. After taxes, she bringing home every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, $3,300. Yeah, I know you living in Miami. It's a little expensive, but you might just need to live a little bit further out. You might not need that big ass house. What you need to do is put that house on the market. Sell that house and downgrade. You ain't got no kids. Downgrade to a 2-bedroom. When the kids come over, they get that 1-bedroom. But if you can't survive off of $80,000 a year after taxes, that is something wrong with you. That is something wrong with you. Shit. I can live off of, if I just lived off my disability, $47,000 a year, I would be perfectly fine. I would be able to make $47,000 last a whole year. I can live off of $47,000. I don't need much. All I need is a good Wi-Fi and no insects in the house. You give me some good Wi-Fi and some AC, I'm living like a king. I'm living like a king. If you can't live off 80,000 after taxes, that's on you. That's just poor. That's just poor lifestyle right there. Yeah, well, hey, if y'all don't know how to sacrifice, then that's on y'all. But 80,000 is more than enough for any person to live off of. More than enough. I know niggas making 40,000, 50,000 a year, and they doing just fine. They doing just fine. You can't live off it. She don't even have kids. Her kids is at the daddy house. So you definitely ain't got no expenses. Now, I'm not saying we don't need more. I'm not saying that $150,000 out of here wasn't going to come up missing. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying that maybe a stack, maybe 10 bands comes up missing. I'm not even saying that. Because 10 bands, 20 bands would have came up missing. There would have been a new rollie on my arm by the end of the week. Yeah. But anyway, they ain't here counting it up, and they just talking about the money. But Numa, she's like, yeah, we'll change her. But Numa ain't really going for it. It's just Lolo that we're looking at like she really needs the money.
$80K a year after taxes. Punched, kicked, insulted.
You got to take a little bag, at least 10 to 15,000. Me personally, I'm probably pushing it to about 75. I'm walking out with 75. I got money in the cargo pockets, money in the regular pockets, a couple of thousand stuffed in the pants because my pants are gonna be tucked into my boots. So I might have like a fucking $200,000, $100,000 in each pant leg. To be honest with you, that's just me.
Hey, Dale.
But anyway,
Yeah, fuck you.
JD ends up calling the DEA agent. He's like, man, I need your help. I don't know what's going on. Dane ain't going through procedure. He ain't notifying command about what's going on. And we're sitting on a lot of money. Now, he doesn't tell how much money it is at this point. So the DEA agent, I forgot his name. It ain't really important. Dink or Brink or some shit like that. It really ain't too much important. We'll just call him DEA. He's like, all right, well, look, we're finishing up a bus right now. Mike Rowe is outside. And Mike Rowe sees all the lights come on the block. So now he's thinking things are a little bit suspicious that every house light is turning on as if they're on a timer, as if the cartel actually owns the whole neighborhood. Now, in real life, we actually know that this wasn't the cartel. It was just a guy. Well, I mean, he probably had some shit going on with the cartel because that's who was running it back and forth. But he just owned a garden shop. He didn't own the whole block. So all the lights turn on. And he's like, hey man, there's something weird going on with that house down there, which turned out to be Morse code. And it was saying PIGS, basically alerting any of the cartel members within the neighborhood that there's pigs, aka cops. JD's like, I'm gonna go down and investigate the house. He tells Mike to go back in and notify Dane about it. And then he sends a text message off like, hey man, some shit going down, man. So what we see here is the rip is $150,000. Dane goes into the garage and he's talking to Lolo and Numa, and he's like, look, there's a lot of money in here, but he leaves the door slightly cracked that Desi can hear it, that, hey, they're potentially about to rob. So we hear him and I'm like, oh shit, maybe he is. In my mind, I'm thinking he's about to let everyone get broke off. Hey, just between us three in this room, y'all can all take like $50,000 a piece. Well, look, we all, it's a lot of money in here. You could take like 10, you could take 20, you could take 30, you could take up to like 50,000 a piece. So Desi is hearing all of this. And when Mike comes in the house, she tells Mike, hey, Mike, they're about to steal the money. He's like, what? Who? She said, I heard them talking in the garage. They're going to steal the money, Mike. So Mike goes in there. And Dane like, what you doing in here? He said, oh, man, JD told me to come and tell you that there's a house up the street. He went to investigate it by himself. He said, all right, well, take your ass back outside. So the girls are in there, and then they get a phone call. And this phone call says people are going to start dying in 10 minutes. Get the F out. While that's going on, JD finally makes it to the other house. He's in here, but we see a gun get pulled up to the back of his head, and we don't know who exactly it is. Now, while they're outside, Mike and Dane are talking. Ain't nothing going on. You're thinking that Dane is about to shoot Mike in the back of the head because he seems crooked. So he tells Mike to go back into the house, and Dane goes to the other house. But he's looking at him, and I'm like, oh, shit, he about to pop this nigga in the middle of the street. But he lets Mike go back into the house. So I'm like, all right, cool. Nothing to see here. Like I said, we already went over this. He gets a text. So he's texting Maddie, the DEA agent, and he texts back, hey, no Crime Stopper tip was called in. The evidence Sarge has no record. I told you to watch your back. So Maddie, the DEA agent, the whole time is saying that Dane, Lieutenant Dane, is actually crooked, which we've already been looking at. And this right here pretty much solidified, like, damn, Dane is crooked. We were right about Dane being crooked. But as he goes upstairs, we see that there's a gun behind his head. Mike goes in there. He's watching them count the money. He's sitting around, and they're saying it's about $20 million. They show back up. Then out of nowhere, the lights get turned off. Boom, lights off. Turn on your lights, your flashlights. Keep them down. But after that, oh shit! I'm talking about bullets are going everywhere. But they put the Volkswagen in their front, so everyone is safe so far for the most part. We letting off shots back. Desi's in the kitchen. She getting shot at. She covers up the dog, man. Fuck that dog. Dane is letting off shots. Mike is letting off shots. But then Lolo gets hit. She's like, oh, fuck, I got hit in my shin. Oh, my God. Where's the dog? Where's the dog? So everybody's in here. Desi in here with her coochie cutters on. She's scared. Mike goes outside. I mean, not Mike. Lieutenant Dane goes outside, and he realizes that all the cars on the block are shot up. So these niggas, not only did they shoot up the whole house, they shot all the cars that were in the street too. Because remember, they parked in the cul-de-sac like it was Fast and Furious, how they pulled up to it's like a race meet. So they shot up all the cars. They shot up the house too. They go outside, and they don't see anything. But then they see a nigga on the roof. Niggas start running across the roof like, oh shit, what the hell is going on here? Is that JD? We don't know who the fuck it is. Just some random nigga goddamn running, jumping across the roof. So I'm like, all right, good. We got some hot pursuit. But then there's a guy to the right. To our right, Dane. They put his ass down. Pop, 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 pop. They letting off. You see that right there, Mike Rowe, letting that thing go. No ping, 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 because no one had silencers on. They had that motherfucker talking. They let that thing breathe. Pop, 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 pop. They chasing them backyard. Pop, 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 pop. He ends up popping in the back of a truck. Pop, pop, pop. They keep shooting at the truck. Ain't nobody hitting shit. Ain't nobody popping up dead. Anyone got all these guns and ain't no one popping up dead. They keep chasing them. The truck drive off. Damn, nothing happened. They go back to the house. They're like, what the fuck, man? Then out of nowhere, a cartel member comes out. We like, oh shit, cartel member. In my mind, I'm thinking it's cartel. Shoot this motherfucker. I don't care if he's cartel or not. Shoot this motherfucker. Any nigga that came outside with a gun that night would have been dead. If I'm on the TNT, anybody that came outside with a gun that night would have been dead. It ain't no talking. You said you part of the cartel. That means you got to die tonight. Anyone that shows up with a gun at this point, they might as well plan the funeral because it's over with. I'm chopping them down. I ain't talking. There ain't no put your hands up. We ain't got no body cams on. I'm letting that thing breathe. I'm talking about catching bodies. We already let one guy get away. We not letting this guy get away. But out of nowhere, JD pops up. JD pop up like, no. He's part of the cartel. He's part of the cartel. So then he calls the cartel, and the cartel is talking about, hey, man, we ain't have nothing to do with that. That wasn't us tonight. We didn't have, let us continue to do our illegal activities, but we didn't have anything to do with that, hombre. El Drug Stash Casio, Stash Casa, no Hitman, no bueno. Mucho dinero, no pesos, no, how do I say, not us. So the cartel boss is on here. Hefe on the FaceTime talking about, no, we didn't have nothing to do with this. We didn't have, let us continue to do our drug bidding. Let our cartel member go, but we didn't have nothing to do with this. So I'm like, wait a minute. The cartel is begging the tactical narcotics team for forgiveness and like, wait a minute. So they called Mexico, the cartel boss, Hefe, talking about we ain't had nothing to do. Get the fuck off the phone. This nigga's getting arrested. This nigga's part of the cartel. How the hell did y'all know about all this going on? Now, he was in the house signaling, but you know what I mean? So they end up calling, whatever, and the cartel's like, yeah, we ain't had nothing to do with this. I'm like, all right, that's a little far-fetched. Then they asked him, did the cartel have anything to do with the murder of Captain Valaz? The hell no, we didn't. And then this nigga tells him, good luck, detectives. El dinero en la casa de no grosso no era tuyo. Yeah, that means Mo ain't have motherfucking nothing to do with this thing. But the cartel, Hefe from the cartel called with the Bill Cosby sweater on. What's up, Tamika? He called with the Bill Cosby sweater on to let them know we didn't have anything to do with that. All right, so I'm like, all right, that's a little far-fetched there, but oh well, we'll roll with it. It's good for cinema. So the house is shot up. They got to go back in there and they got to count up the money. Now they got candles and stuff because the power got hit. Mind you, it was just a full shootout. Numa, her makeup ain't messed up, ain't nothing in her hair. Just went back to counting money. I tell you, Luma, she's a boss ass B. You know what I mean? No disrespect. You know what I mean? But she's a boss. She got the do-rag still on, the scarf still on, the hair still hairing. You know what I mean? They went right back to counting money. They didn't take the bullet out of her or whatever. She just back to counting money. They like, all right, well, shit got shot up. The cartel ain't had nothing to do with this. We need to finish counting the money. So at this point, everyone is starting to lose it. Everyone is all over the place. And we see Dane and JD get to arguing about what's actually going on. Who's calling who? Who's really in charge? Who killed Jackie? They're going at it with each other. And then these niggas start to tussle because it wouldn't be a good movie without Ben Affleck and Matt Damon fighting each other. Now, I always thought these dudes are like brothers in real life, but they just best friends. Might as well be brothers. So they start fighting. Hey, stop it. And at this point, they knock over a candle. Stuff starts catching on fire. I accidentally knocked over $250,000 into my pocket. You know what I mean? I accidentally knocked over $250,000 into my pants. I accidentally did it. It was a fight. It was a big commotion. I didn't know what was going on. But they're fighting like this. And there's money all on the table, money on the floor. We got 20s on the table, 100s on the floor, fresh out of work on the way to get some more. And I love it. Yeah. That's Young Jeezy, if y'all didn't know. But there's money everywhere. So while they fighting, I'm grabbing money, like putting money in the pant pocket. I'm putting money down the pants and shit. Like, oh shit, they scrapping. It ain't my job. Both of these guys outrank me. It ain't my job. If you outrank me, it ain't my job to break that up. That shit above my pay grade. That shit ain't got nothing to do with me. But somehow money is just falling in my pants. You know what I mean? I'm talking about my pants and stuff. You know what I mean? I'm walking about that motherfucker with the goddamn clumps. You know what I mean? They walking out like, damn, Mo, did you get a BBL? I'm like, hell no, I got a motherfucking stack of money, nigga. Yeah, they were like, damn, Mo, what is that? A BBL? Hell no, nigga, this that motherfucking money for sure. But yeah, I done put all kinds of money in my pants pocket. I'm walking up out that thing while they scrapping. I done ran outside like, hey, there's people out here. I'd have put some money in the car. Man, I would have put some inside the spare tire. I would have been putting it in that motherfucker. I would have did all kinds of shit. But I wouldn't have been breaking them up fighting. In my mind, I'm thinking I got to protect the money. But anyway, they get to scrapping and a little fire breaks out. They talking about breaking it up. So right now, no one can be trusted. Now, Mike, he goes to the bathroom and he's looking for his burner phone because he's trying to make some calls. Mike trying to make some calls like, hey, man, these niggas is acting a damn fool. They acting a damn fool, but he ain't got his phone on him. And then Dane ends up calling Maddie. I mean, not Dane. JD ends up calling Maddie like, hey, Dane is making a rip. He's stealing the money. Oh, man, I'm telling you, I ain't feeling good, man. Maddie's talking about, all right, I'm inbound. I got the armored truck. And then we're sitting on 20 mil. So he's like, 20 mil. But remember, it was only supposed to be 150,000. So 20 million is crazy. But he's telling them that we're going to have you pick us up and you're going to take us to the Jackson Memorial where we can count the money in a secure location so the cartel won't be able to get to us. And Mike is like, hey, man, how you see my phone? Because I had a burner. I was trying to make some phone calls. Help us out. Well, as they count the money, Dane actually knows how much money it is because the girls counting it up. And I think it was 20,640,000 and like 480 or something along that line. Something along that line. So he's telling these two because they were the ones that counted the money. The ones that count the money got to remember the number. So when they go in and be questioned, when they go and get questioned, excuse me, when they go get questioned, they'll be able to numbers add up. So what they do is they stuff all the money into these duffel bags. Thank you. So it's a phone call. They don't answer it. Now, mind you, the house, look at the house. The house just got shot all the way up. And they talking about, let's see if this car runs. What, Petty? How I know what? How do I know what? 20,650,200. 20,650,480. I think that's how much money it was. I think that's how much money it was. I think the number was 20,640,480 or something like that. I think. I know it was 20,000,006 something. I can't remember. I watched this film. I watched it yesterday before the game. But so he tells them to count it up, and he's like, see if Desi and the keys run.
See if Bessie has a key.
Because they shot up all the cars on the outside. Now remember, y'all told me the garage didn't catch on fire. Y'all told me the garage didn't catch on fire. The garage did catch on fire. The garage did catch on fire. Remember, she stomped out the first fire, but then they caught a fire in the other room and it started coming through the vents. The garage did catch on fire. The buckets were still in there. The buckets were inside the car. That's inside the garage that's on fire. I knew I wasn't tripping because at the end, well, we'll get there when we get there. But I was like, the fire was literally in the same room as the car in the garage. I was like, I ain't gonna say nothing. It is TV, film, music, TV, and all that other MTV Music Awards. But I was like, the fire was literally in the room with the money and the car. That's where the fire started. Look, the fire is here. They got the duffel bags. The car is here. Look, you can even see the fire is still in the garage. Look, the whole garage on the inside is lit up on fire. You can see the outline of the car right here. Yeah, I knew I wasn't tripping. I knew I wasn't. I like the fire was in the garage and then the house caught on fire. But anyway, see the front door is on fire, and then the garage, the fire is inside the garage too. I guess they made it stay back and was putting the fire out. But anyway, Maddie shows up and they got a Tahoe behind them. So they bring out all the duffel bags and they're like, all right, we'll put the duffel bags in the armored truck and we'll drive off. So who drives off is going to be, it's Dane, Maddie, Mike, and JD. We leave behind Lolo and we leave behind Luna. They're going to take the Linko. Now, Numa's like, we're going to go too. We're going to go too. He's like, nah, I need you to stay back. I need you to do your damn job. So he tells them two to stay, which makes sense once we finish up the movie.
All right, let's load the money bags in the...
So they all hop in the vehicle. Now, this is where things get intense. So you're like, look, so we know all of them are still here. There's still a fire. Maybe they go in there and put the fire out, but it's kind of tough to get back in the house to put the fire out when the whole front door is on fire. And we didn't see any side door to the garage. There was only one door to the garage, and that was a door you come into the house. So unless they open this garage up and then they lift the car up and turn the car to the side, because remember, the car is turned sideways, but the jack to the car is on the inside of the house. So remember, the car was sitting like this. They jacked the car up. They pushed the car back, put the jack down, and they had to turn the car around this way. So now the jack is on the inside of the house, meaning if they open up the garage to the house, they got to go around the car, get the jack, lift the jack up, and turn the car so the car can actually get out, because the car is taking up the whole garage while there's a fire going on in the house. So they're going to be inhaling all of these fumes while they're jacking the car up to turn the car, to get the car out, then to even see if the car works after the garage has been shot up. The whole car was shot up for a reason. They moved the car there in case people came to shoot them. So I'm looking at this like, oh, damn, okay. Well, they got the money. They just going to sit here to the fire department comes. But we'll get to that part once we get there. But I'm just showing you in real time what we were watching. That's why I knew something was up with that Volkswagen when she was like, oh, my mom had something like this when we were growing up. I knew there had to be something up with it. And I thought it may have just been using it as protection, but it was a little more than that. But let's continue on. No one on this street is calling for anything, because remember, in the film, in this, technically, all these houses are owned by the cartel, because remember, all the lights came on. So all this shooting and stuff, no one's calling anything in, because the way they got it set up for us, the presentation is they own the whole block. Maybe they own the next block too, because, I mean, it's TV, guys. So we just assuming no one outside of this block heard any of the shots, any of the fire or anything. Yeah, and if you lift that garage, as soon as that garage door goes up, it's gonna be boom, a whole backdraft. All that fire in the garage is about to flame out like that, and it's just gonna make the fire even worse. So this really would have been total disaster. But let's continue on. It's TV. We almost at the end anyway. So at this point is what it all comes down to. Who's good, who's bad. Everybody start pulling their guns out. Dane's talking about if some shit go down, I'm already have my gun out. I'm going to empty the clip. JD pull his guns out. But then they start contacting each other. And we start finding out the backstory that Dane and JD were actually on the same side. And the reason it seemed the way it did is because Dane didn't know who he could trust. And he had to make people believe if JD thought that he was crooked and was doing things wrong, his best friend JD believed that he was dirty, then everyone else will believe that. So the gun that actually popped up at that house was actually Dane's gun. And he was telling them, I couldn't tell anybody what was going on. Now, also, that burner phone that Mike was looking for when they were fighting, that right there was just a ruse. That right there was just a distraction because they ended up pickpocketing the phone from Mike. But Mike is saying he don't know whose phone that is. So what they do is they use the phone to unlock it. They were going to use his face. But then Mike was like, nah, I got something better. So Mike takes the phone and he makes a phone call. The phone call goes to Maddie. The phone call goes to Maddie, the DEA. So Mike and Maddie are in on it together. And Mike was trying to justify what he was doing, saying that Desi told me that y'all was going to rob him. Dane said, no, I said that out loud so Desi would believe what I wanted her to believe so it would get back to you so I could find out who was really the one that was double crossing us. So when he went into the garage and told them, hey, we're going to steal some of this money, Desi heard it and told Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe thought, okay, they crooked. That's why Mike Rowe ended up texting Maddie and saying that they dirty, they're about to do the rip because he got the information from Desi, which was all wrong information because he was just staging this to see who was going to do what. So now he ends up calling Maddie. And at this point, all hell breaks loose. Pop, pop, brrr, niggas get to shooting again. So we got a most shootout. Now, this is where they talk about the inspiration came from the movie Heat. If you go back and watch the movie Heat, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, pretty good film. The very beginning was an armored truck heist where they had the dudes out there. They had got them. They ended up shooting them because they got hit with flashbangs. They couldn't really hear nothing. Go back and watch Heat. Very good. But that's where the inspiration from this movie came from. So now Dane and JD are on the same side, but shit ain't going the way they're supposed to. Of course, we already went over this part where they were all talking. He told everybody a different amount of money just to see who was really in and who wasn't. So now everybody's shooting each other on the back of the truck. They end up running into his brother. So JD texts his brother. He kept saying, I'm going to call my brother. He's an FBI agent. They're like, no. So he sent the location to his brother. So the brother got the location. The FBI is actually sitting out front. And they're like, hey, bring your dumb asses out the truck. We got you surrounded right here. Come on out, Maddie. Come out with your hands up. No one has to get hurt. So everyone's sitting in there. But then niggas like, man, I ain't going out like no hoe. So niggas get the bucket again. Pop, 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 pop. Niggas get the shooting. Then everybody start hopping out. Goddamn. We thinking he popped. Oh shit, he dead. Nope. He get up, he run up out too. Everybody shooting everybody. Everybody running around. He took a duffel bag full of money. He getting the hell up out of here. Pop, pop, pop. They shooting. They talking about, hey, hands up. Lieutenant Dane talking about, hey, I'm police officer. I'm police officer. Okay, keep going. Go chase him. He went through the woods. So Maddie Rose running through the woods. Mike Rose running through the woods. Maddie is driving with this. And then we got motherfucking JD shooting out the window with one hand like Terminator. He ain't hitting the motherfucking thing. So they chasing each other down. Boom, 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 boom. He trying to T-bone him off the road. That Lincoln strong as hell. 6 wheels, about probably 10,000 pounds. Oh, yeah, that mug ain't getting turned over like that. Bulletproof too? Yeah, you can run through anything. You run through a bank vault with that mug if you want to. But anyway, he ends up turning him over. Boom, boom, boom. And in the woods, we got the same thing going on. We got Dane versus Matt or versus Mike. And then Maddie versus JD. Pop, pop, pop. They going at it. He kicks him off the bridge. Mike is getting the best of himself. He's over here getting choked out in the woods. So then he walks over to motherfucking Maddie, and Maddie's like, what you gonna do? You gonna kill me, man? You gonna kill me, man? I done seen everything but Christ. JD's like, yeah, you know what? I am gonna kill you, motherfucker. Now the same thing's going on with Mike and Dane. And then Dane kicks the bag over to him. And well, guess what? Inside that bag, it wasn't no money. The duffel bags didn't have any money in it. The duffel bags, all those phone books that were in there, they pulled the okie doke. They pulled the okie doke. Instead of putting the money in the duffel bags, Dane knew that this was off. Him and JD knew that somebody wasn't who they say they were. And it turned out to be Maddie and Mike. So instead, those duffel bags were full with books, phone books. The money was still at the house. I said, damn, that was a good plot twist right there. I wasn't expecting that. The old switcheroo. You know what I'm saying? That's the old switcheroo. That's the okie doke. And on my channel, we don't get hit with the okie doke. We do the okie dokie. We don't get hit with the okie doke. We do the okie dokie. You see what I'm saying? If they hit you with the okie doke, you are not one of us. They pull the okie doke on them. They put the phone books in there. Now, I'm going to show y'all something real quick. That there? That there? This there? Right there? This little pack right here? That's $200,000 in cash. Just in that just a little brick like that. There's $200,000 in there, right there. That little thing got some weight to it. I'm gonna tell you, $1 million is heavier than what they show on TV. You can put $1 million in a duffel bag and run with it if you want to. It ain't gonna be light. You ain't gonna be sprinting full speed. No, it ain't gonna be like that in the movie. Just that little 200,000 right there. When it comes through in a box about like this, and probably like this. Yeah, probably like this, and probably about this thick. $200,000. It got some weight on it. It ain't light. It ain't light. So running through the woods like he's running through it, you ain't doing that in real life. You ain't outrunning somebody with that money on you like that. You might be able to for like 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, but after that, they slowing your ass down. But they got hit with the okie doke. There wasn't any money in there. It was just the phone books. Well, JD ends up killing Maddie. Maddie and Mike were the ones that actually took out the agent at the beginning. But they end up taking Mike Rowe in. Mike Rowe doesn't die. They arrest him. And then there's the phone books right there, the white and yellow pages beside the books. Then we got the car that's all shot up. Just miraculously, none of the tires were blown out, but there's bullets all over this whole car. No tire got hit. The engine block was good to go. The gas tank ain't nothing get hit. Just the car got shot all the way up. They riding off into the night to take the money in. And what do they got in the back? They got Desi and the dog in the back. Oh, 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 oh. That's all we heard all goddamn movie. Oh, oh. That damn dog. Shut that dog up, man. Shut that fucking dog. Oh, oh, oh. Like, shut that motherfucking dog up. Put a goddamn muzzle on that mother. You ain't got to put that shit in the car or something. Oh, oh, oh. Like, dog, shut that motherfucking bagel up. So look, I told you the fire was in there. The buckets are a little bit burnt up. They're a little charred. You know, some people like they hot dogs with a little bit of char on it. That's all it is, just a little bit of char on these buckets. So that means they had to not only get the car out, they had to get the buckets and stack the buckets up inside the vehicle. They had to put the money back in the buckets, put the buckets to the side where no one sees them, because Mike helped them bring out the bags. So hide the bucket somewhere, go back into the fire. The buckets are on fire, so they're literally sitting next to it. Turn the vehicle around, see if the vehicle works. But Desi doesn't know if the vehicle works because this is her grandmother's house. The car probably hasn't been driven in years. They got to turn the car around, see if the car works, take the buckets that are on fire, put the buckets and stack 20 buckets inside the back of this vehicle. Perfect enough that all 20 of them will fit. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if they do 3 rows, that's 18 across. And then they probably got 2 buckets in the back to give us our last 20 or 2 in the back seat. But they had to do all of that. And you mean to tell me they did all of that while Lolo got a bullet in her leg? Lolo got a bullet in her leg. Y'all remember Lolo got shot. So Numa did all of this by herself? Numa in there. I've been working on the railroad all the live long day. She just stacking this shit up. Lolo in the front seat. Desi in the back seat with the dog. got to jump start the car. We don't even know if the car works. Talking about is the keys in there. That car would definitely need a jump. That motherfucker hasn't been driven in years. So they had to do all of this to get the car up out the fire, turn the vehicle around, jump start the car, fill it up with all the buckets, fight the fire off the buckets, and then drive it on out. Just a look. Yeah, she did say she was grazed. Because she did say, if you don't have a, well, she wasn't just grazed because she couldn't have just been grazed. If she was just grazed, then they wouldn't have needed to wrap it up. There wouldn't have been excessive bleeding if it was just a graze. Somebody lying. I remember when she did say that, Candy, because she did say, if you didn't get grazed by a bullet, shut up in there. We got more serious things to worry about. So wait a minute. What you need a bandage for if you just got grazed? Oh, yeah. Somehow, hey, the car gave out, man. Dang, the car, it gave out. We're on the side of the road. We're stranded. 3 buckets fell off into the water. Dang, we don't know where the 3 buckets went. Oh, my goodness. We don't know where the money went. Oh, yeah. Anyway. I don't know what they poured on the wall. Anyway, they dropped the money off. They go and count the money up.
Sign off on this one.
Got it. They're on my ass. I need that number.
All right, they're on my ass. We need that number. Let's see what the number was. I think it was 20,644,080, but I know I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong.
Verbal confirmation.
All right. Everybody put how much you remember the money being. Let's see who is right and who is wrong. Put how much you think the money is before we get this verbal confirmation. I'm thinking 20 million. I think it was 20,644,080. That's what I think it was. Let me see if y'all remember the count. Nah, I don't. 650,058. I knew it was something like that. 650,058. I thought it was 20,654,080. It may have been 480 before we actually turned the county in. It may have been 480 before we turned. I had to shit. I got Shorty. I'm supposed to be taking Shorty out to eat this weekend, so I may have took 300 off the top. I ain't gonna lie to you. Look. We got shot at last night. Traumatic experience. I had to take at least 300. I ain't take 1,000. I ain't take a million or nothing. I took $300. If y'all can't live without $300, then there's something wrong. Like, I took $300. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I took 300. 300 was the least. Like, come on, man. $300. Y'all can give me that. Y'all already ain't giving us overtime, and we just worked overtime on this case.
Your count?
Yes. Yes.
What's your count, Lolo? What's your count, Lolo? We don't want to hear yes, Lolo. What's the count?
20,650,000.
I knew it was 480. I knew it was 480. 26,504. I knew it. I knew it. Kendall is a thief. Kendall is a thief. Kendall, we need to know where that $300 went. Oh, Kendall, we need to know where that $300 went, Kendall. Somebody's been pocketing some money. Somebody's been pocketing some money. I didn't take any money. I knew the number. I knew the number. I knew the number. Kendall, your number ain't right. Kendall, you off. Kendall, you off. You off, I'm going to say about $322. Kendall, I can't believe you took $322. Where'd you get the $2 from? Hey, see? This is why you gotta have the numbers right. Kendall is under investigation now because some reason Kendall's number is $322 short. Oh no, not 322. You $422 short. My bad. My bad. You $422 short. Oh, I know you lying.
5480.
I would have never thought it'd be Kendall.
You have a number for me?
20,650,480.
20,650,480. All right. So that's pretty much the end of the movie there. Everybody's cool with each other. That's the number we got, the running total. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. If it was my team, we would have turned in 15 million. We probably would have turned in about $12 million, to be honest with you. Everybody's getting the M out of this, and then the rest I'm gonna put away. Now, I don't know how he knew how much money there actually was before they even counted it. Like, how could he give them the number unless he knew? Like, unless Jackie gave him the number. But that was my only thing I was wondering about. How did they get the actual number when they weren't even done counting the money? Unless they said something that I ain't catching on. But there you go, man. We knocked this out in 2 hours. That there is the live review of The Rip on Netflix. I give it an 8. Compared to what actually happened, none of this happened. The only thing that did happen was there was money in there and they counted it for a whole day. There wasn't any shootouts or anything. There wasn't anybody crooked. But overall, I did like it. I like how they flipped the story. They did have me wondering who was good, who was bad the whole time. So I like that aspect of it. I give it an 8. I definitely give it an 8. I think I would have been able to give it a 9 or 10 if the true story, like, don't tell me this is based on a true story, but don't give me none of the true story. Don't just give me the money aspect. I can make a true story about my life and saying that I had $50 million, but it's only like $50,000. You know, I can over exaggerate something like that, but don't tell me that there's all this action and ain't that action. But I do like how they did it. I never, till the very end, I didn't know who was good and who was bad. The only person I thought was good was JD. The whole time, JD was only, well, JD and Numa. I thought JD and Numa were both good. I thought Lola was bad. I thought Mike was bad. I thought Dane was bad. And Maddie, the DEA, I didn't really think that he was bad. I just thought he was like a neutral party. But I thought JD was the only good one. So I enjoyed it. I definitely recommend it. If you haven't watched it, it is The Rip on Netflix. I give it an 8 out of 10. It's good to watch. Very good to watch. I mean, if you made it this far, you didn't already went through it, but be prepared. It's very good. It's kind of slow in the beginning, but it gets there. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm J. I appreciate you guys. I'll probably do a recap of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms tomorrow. And we also got To Be Tuesday tomorrow, depending on how I feel, man. Because right now, for some reason, like, man, I keep coughing and my lower back is messed up, man. It's like when I breathe, so I don't know, man. I'm going to take me some NyQuil and go ahead and call it a night. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate you guys. Remember, you can run, but you can't hide. That's a review of The Rip on Netflix. Every run that you can hide.